The body has got this immune system, and the immune system needs to be stimulated by something so that it recognizes that antigen. Vaccination or immunization is introducing a foreign substance that will stimulate the body's immune response to react in the same manner. So what is done is you take the part of the organism, part of the bacteria, part of the virus, and then make it non-infective and put it back into the patient. So when we put it into the individual, what happens is that first reaction will cause the antibodies to come out and then engulf the antigen, but it will also remember that antigen. So the next time when that person is infected by the actual organism, virus or bacteria, then the same immune response will be mounted and it will kill the bacteria before it gets to the body. So this is basically what vaccination or immunization is all about. It's about protecting individuals so that you protect the whole population.
Hello.
In Malaysia, we have a very good record of immunization or vaccination. We have vaccination coverage of more than 90%, and sometimes more than 95% of the population gets vaccinated. That's actually excellent. And we have more antigens or diseases that we protect against with vaccines in this country than any of our neighboring countries, even including Singapore. We have more than what Singapore has. And so actually what happens is now our coverage is 90 to 95%. At the same time, you see people who are saying that vaccines are bad. The anti-vaccine social media is also increasing. So you have two things now. Our coverage has already gone up to 95-90%. Actually, it's more than 95%. But we also have this group of people who are actually now going out, who are refusing to give vaccination for the children. And this is the effect of these people who claim to be very smart, who claim to be pro-choice, who don't want to give vaccines to their children. The National Immunization Program makes sure that every baby that's born will get a BCG, vaccination for tuberculosis, at birth, and hepatitis B vaccine. Then that's two. So the baby will then get another 2 doses of hepatitis B at the age of 1 month and then at the age of 6 months. At the age of 2 months, 3 months, and 5 months, they will get diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis or whooping cough, Haemophilus influenzae type B or Hib, and injectable polio. So they get diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, polio, and Haemophilus influenzae type B. Okay, 5 diseases in one injection. And at 6 months, they get another hepatitis B injection. And then at 9 months now, they get a dose of mumps, measles, and rubella in one injection. At 12 months, they get the second dose of mumps, measles, and rubella vaccination. And at 18 months, they get the same 5-in-1 vaccine that I mentioned just now: Haemophilus influenzae, diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus, and injectable polio. Now in Sabah, we give children 1 extra dose of measles vaccine at the age of 6 months. And then in Sarawak, we also gave Japanese encephalitis. So now we are going to introduce, hopefully when the vaccines come, pneumococcal conjugate vaccine is going to be introduced in the program. So it will be slotted in there, but we'll have to see where it gets slotted in. By the time the child reaches 18 months of age, the child would have been protected against 12 diseases, also the vaccines that have been given. Vaccines are given to healthy people. So if you are vaccinated, it gives you that extra protection against diseases. There are also other vaccines that are not in the national immunization program. There is rotavirus vaccine, there is influenza vaccine for diarrhea and for influenza, flu. If you are vaccinated against these diseases, you are actually protected against these diseases only. So if you're given a chickenpox vaccine, then you will be protected against chickenpox. It doesn't mean that when you're exposed to somebody with chickenpox, you don't get it. You may get it. But if somebody who's not been vaccinated, you get the chickenpox, you may get maybe 200 spots in your body, high fever, you get complications like brain infection, pneumonia, ear infection, all the complications, you can become blind from chickenpox. But if you have been given the vaccine, 2 doses of chickenpox vaccine, you get exposed to a child who's got chickenpox, you may end up with 10 spots in your body, mild fever. So that's the difference, the protection that we want. In addition, if you are protected, then you are preventing the bacteria or the virus from circulating within the population, which means that now you are providing what is called the herd effect. That means herd effect, you've been vaccinated and the other person has been vaccinated. So the circulation of the virus or the bacteria is less. That means you're protecting the person who's not vaccinated. And the person who's not vaccinated that you want to protect is actually the young baby who has not yet reached 2 months or 3 months to be vaccinated. So that's who you're protecting. And you're also protecting children who have got cancer, children who are immunocompromised, they have HIV, they are not well, they are on steroids, where their immune system is low. So if you have no circulating virus, no circulating bacteria, you're protecting these people. If you are not vaccinated, you get infected, you go and spread this to your classmates, to the person who's got HIV, if you're unlucky, or you get to an asthmatic child who is on steroids, that child will get a severe infection. When you get a slight infection, that child will get a severe infection. So if you're not vaccinating yourself and you think that you can be protected because other people are being vaccinated, that's being selfish. These people who are the pro-choice, or the people who are not vaccinating their children, that's what they're saying. Why do I need to vaccinate my child when everybody else is vaccinated and there is no more measles in the country? But they don't know. If you have a case of measles who comes, if there's now polio is in Philippines, how far is Philippines from here by flight? And how many maids come here from the Philippines? So what can they bring? They can bring polio here. What these anti-vaccine people don't realize is there's a lot of effort that's going on to promote vaccination. There's a lot of effort going on by the Ministry of Health that actually looks at the discharge from toilets and all that to see whether there is polio virus in the sewage. So we don't know that's going on. But that is what's going on to keep the population away from diseases like polio. If you're an adult and you've never before got any of the childhood vaccines, and you've never got hepatitis B, you've never gotten BCG, you can still get those vaccines. For instance, you can get BCG, right, that can be given. You can get hepatitis B, which can be given. That will protect you against liver cancer. Or if you're 40 years old, you can still get HPV vaccine. But what is more important, you can get what is called the Tdap vaccine. The Tdap vaccine is tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis vaccine. It's given to adults. It is similar to the DTaP vaccine, which is given in children, except that this is Tdap, which means that the diphtheria and the pertussis component is lower dose, so you don't get so much a reaction. But it is for adults. So these vaccines can be given. So if you have never, and you can still take influenza vaccine if you so want to. These are things that you can still do even if you have never got the vaccine before in your lifetime, right? And you've survived all these years without getting, so that's fine. It's good that somebody who's reached 40 years old has never been vaccinated and never get the infection. That's fine, we're happy for that. But we also want to see that person protected for the rest of his life. You can still get pneumococcal vaccine, which will protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia, which kills a lot of adults aged more than 65. If there are parents who have got children and these children have not gotten their vaccinations before, mainly because maybe the parents were too busy, maybe the clinic hours were not suitable for the child, or the parents themselves originally did not believe in vaccines and then now they start to believe in vaccines. So that's okay. If that happens and they want to vaccinate, just take the child to the clinic, because we can always adapt the vaccines to the child's age, and there are enough vaccines to protect the children from then onwards. So just take the child to the clinic and we will give the vaccines according to the schedule. The Ministry of Health is trying very hard to make sure that people get vaccinated. There is a program that I run with the Ministry of Health, and this is called Immunize for Life. You can look it up in the website. It's www.ifl.my. So now Immunize for Life is a program that is actually made for the public, but we also try and influence different things as well. We influence the healthcare professionals, we teach the healthcare professionals, we influence the public, we explain to the public what immunization is all about. So if you look at www.ifl.my, you find that a lot of the material in there are actually videos, and these videos actually teach about different vaccine preventable diseases. We also teach about the vaccines, we teach about how vaccines work, but from a diagrammatic perspective. So it shows you the bacteria, it shows you the vaccine, it shows you them fighting and then all that. These are things that are already being done. Government have done that. What the government hasn't done yet is actually making vaccines mandatory or compulsory. This is something that is very difficult to do at the moment, because there are people who have loud voices and say that it is an infringement of personal liberties. So when you have infringement of personal liberties, the government is afraid to go forward, to step forward and say and make it mandatory. So there are a lot of pros and cons to it, and I can tell you a lot of people actually want to have or want to see that vaccination be made mandatory or compulsory. In the community, when there is an outbreak of, say, measles in one community, the Ministry of Health, Kementerian Kesihatan, will usually send their officers there, and they will have mass vaccination. So mass vaccination, if there is, say, a diphtheria case in one population and a lot of children are not vaccinated, they will go in, test everybody, give vaccines to all. If you have a community where there's a large amount of measles cases in one area, then Kementerian Kesihatan or the Ministry of Health will go and they will immunize everybody, no exception. And this is how we have managed to control measles outbreaks in the country. Now, there is such a thing as measles elimination. The World Health Organization or WHO wants to have measles elimination in different countries. So far, a few countries have already got measles elimination. USA had considered measles elimination in the year 2000. Then a few years later, they had an outbreak. And then now there's measles everywhere in the United States, right? Because their president says it's not good to give the measles vaccination. So we haven't managed to do that. We put our target before year 2000, 2008, 2000. So now the target is moving. So the diseases that we are very concerned about now are diphtheria and measles, because diphtheria causes death. Measles can cause an outbreak very easily. If you have one person, 15 or 20 people next to you will get infected. These are the two diseases that we should seriously consider making mandatory in this country.